series. You can every matchup is good.
Fire.
Oh, I love International League of Legends. All right, let's take a look at the bans. Kind of safe compositions where we're really winning the day in game 1 of our first series. Game 3 is a lot about comfort. We'll see what the angle is for teams here. VAR is taken away. Kalista, Jace, the Poppy as well. Reminder that Poppy's tank build was buffed. Early damage on E down, which hit her support, hit her jungle, but gets a lot more max HP shield as you go later in the game, up to 20%, and a bit more AD scaling on the E. So that's why you're seeing that taken away. Still a solid pick. Still so much playmaking down. Nidalee also taken off the board, and I love this because already we're walking into 2 completely different meta reads from these teams, as Rumble will be the final ban.
And then Nidalee has remained at the forefront ever. She came back with a vengeance last year at MSI.
Yep.
Has been a standout pick, I think, for both these songs. Peanut initially looked a little bit rough in it, but has really honed himself. As is it going to be just an early top laner to come in here? Ambessa, Cassante still open. Also, do note that it does feel like the Skarner priority has dropped. Again, the nerfs were substantial, but it's always the question, because I feel like he's been nerfed a lot. His items have been nerfed a lot. And as I finish my sentence, it looks like he might not be perma-ban anymore, but he's still there.
And I think the important thing to note is that pro play is always kind of slow to change, and I think comfort is really important. So many teams have just been practicing Skarner for so long. The transition between end of split to start of this tournament was really short for a lot of teams. HLE had a little bit of a longer windup, but the patch we're playing on has not been out for a lot of time. And Skarner, while it didn't really work for TL, it's still clearly a solid champ when it comes to fighting those engages. But the immediate response from the side of Top Esports is going to be the Vi, showing us that early indication of a pick composition. We'll see what other kind of dive options they want to pair alongside it. Could just be Ambessa. That's the EU classic, but maybe I've watched too much EU. Instead, it will be the Aurora. And this is a composition that
also got nerfed.
Got nerfed, and it did not work for Casey when we saw it. And TES, obviously a very different team, but they were not able to find success with it. We'll see if TES can show us a little bit more of how it's meant to be done. Yeah,
one of Cream's most played. I do think that combinations like the Aurora Vi are so reliant on being able to just have a great snap engage with that mid-jungle 2v2. Home Alive just taking a completely different book, and right now we have very clear anti-dive versus dive. Already pretty heavily committed, I think, to the team comps. TES is going to very clearly be the aggressor here. And now the final pick, are we going to pick up a blind pick for Zeus and leave our bot lane picks to later? Or instead, it's going to be securing the Ezreal for Viper. Ezreal goes with anything, in anything, and it's great into dive.
And I really got to say, I love this first 3 from HLE, right? The safety into the dive that you mentioned, the scaling safe options. So Azir, a champion that can still make plays in mid-game. TES, the pressure is on them to leverage these champions to find picks, to not let HLE just scale comfortable in this game. And TES are a team that can play at breakneck speed. They will push you in a lot of ways that other teams won't. It's like a classic LPL team trait, but TES embody it super well.
I was hoping this was going to get picked because Jackie Love is one of the very few players where I see MF, I'm like, you know what?
It's an MF angle.
That looks good, and I trust him. And I wanted to highlight Ezreal, as safe as he is, the one thing that ever since we had the period where he was just winning lane left and right, did get those changes reverted. And ever since, it's very classic. He's very safe, but he shouldn't be winning a lot of lanes into lane bullies. And MF, when piloted well, and I'm going to trust Jackie blindly to do that, is so insanely oppressive. And I do think that the one thing that Home Life are going to have to be very careful of is what happens if you have too many losing lanes. Now, I do think that the Zeka will be fine here on the Azir. It's a pick that was kind of the first pick he started to pick up after, he tried to get rid of his identity as a melee one-trick after Worlds 2022. But it is a type of champion. I think the draw for Hanwha thus far, it does need some time. It doesn't quite have the same explosiveness that TES has.
Well, the early levels for Ezreal, because of the attack speed steroid, I feel like you're in a position where HLE, the good news is, even if you end up in a situation where your early lanes don't win on paper yet, you will get to counterpick one of these matchups.
Yeah.
TES have red sides, you won't get counterpick on both, but you could prioritize blind picking your support, probably losing out in a bot lane 2v2, depending on what HLE want to bring.
Are they looking
or
for
you can prioritize counterpicking for 369. It is just going to be the immediately on a lock-in.
So that is a clear signal that I think they're looking towards the Jax. So Jace has already been taken away, and Gragas is the classic counter matchup. Jax also feels very safe as a blind pick. Doesn't really have a lot of champions that I think counter him quite as easily. Can go towards something like the Camille, which frankly would make a lot of sense in this style of composition when you're already fully committed to the dive. And it does come through there. And then for the light, His Alistair is absolutely mind-boggling. It's also something that we see picked a lot into the Leona, has the ability to do things like cancel the MF field.
Yep.
It's both great as an engage tool, but also to slow down the dive that certainly will be coming through from TES.
And to me, this is, we are conceding bot lane, right? Alistair level 1, you're not doing anything. You are not stepping up there. And now the response, I mean, fighting fire with fire here. Credit to 369. This was how they wanted to use their counter pick, right? They could have gave it to Crisp. They could have gave it to support. Instead, it's the Kennen now coming out here. And this is a tough pick to execute on. Can TES keep the momentum up? Because if you get the Aurora into the Kennen, into the MF, everyone at home can visualize the Wombo combo. But pulling it off is another deal entirely.
And I think both teams are going to be feeling happy with what they have here. When executed perfectly, I think the Humble Life comp, it's so hard to actually reliably dive targets, right? There is so much safety. There is an incredible amount of counter engage, a lot of mobility and safety. Trying to dive into Skarn or into Alistair, into Ezreal, these things are tough. But I do think that with dive comps in particular, when executed well, you can reach a critical mass. And TES, to their credit, that's 100% what they've gone for, right? Like, this is a critical mass of dive, team fight potential, and just AoE damage that Humble Life is going to have to deal with.
I will say this is an insanely free Merc Treads game. Anyone who does not build Merc Treads into the Leona, Kennen, Aurora, I think is making some mistakes. But again, two very different compositional identities. I think we have something a bit more, what you call a standard, like, good pro play draft, right? You have a Zir, you have some decent power on the bottom side of the map in the Ezreal, you have the safety.
It's a bit boring, but it gets the job done.
But it gets the job done, exactly. And on the opposite side, we have TES with, you know, all-out aggression, foot on the pedal.
Love it. It's so, I love it when a narrative comes together.
Isn't that great when they just deliver like that? I love International League of Legends, man. I can't believe you get to do this every week where you just get the excellent cheers to start. LEC fans, we're stealing this. We're taking this home, we're taking it.
No, the fan chants are amazing.
I also have to remember to stop yapping, because I definitely yapped in the middle of our last game, too. Anyway, here we are. HLE versus TES, LPL versus LCK Showdown. Earlier, NA versus EU. Very much one of the favorite NA. We'll see what happens here. TES, a team that improved immensely, that rose up from the lower bracket to make it here against AL. HLE with Zeus, you know, yes, it did go to game 5 every single time, but they always managed to clutch it out, as you heard from the analyst desk. Number 3, number 5 on the global power rankings, powered by AWS. And you know what the good news is? Now that we've seen 4 out of 5 teams play, I think we can finally say that lane swap should
Are we not? Is this not premature?
No, I'm going to say it.
Longer?
I want to live in if I'm living in a world of ignorance, at least I'm living in a beautiful world, you know?
Wow.
Of 1v1s, where currently Zeka is suffering a little bit at the level 1 here. Aurora, very obnoxious to lane against.
Cream really doing a number on him there.
And you mentioned earlier, right, these two players, Cream and Zeka, very similar trajectories. Zeka, obviously higher heights, you said it yourself, won Worlds, but two players who were criticized for limited champion pools, but have over the years. We found that glow up as 369. Not sure if he was managed to hit the edge of the lightning rush there. Counter-Strike does hit. Grass proc as well for Zeus. Not a bad start, honestly.
We'll have to see how this matchup is going to play out again. And it's funny because 369 on a carry is something that he originally was known for, then he kind of rebranded as a tank player. And again, I
Man's had a lot of rebrands.
In 2023, the best tank player that we had throughout basically the entire year. Absolutely incredible. Large reason of why the team fighting of JDG at the time looked so insane. Then Hingham Knight creating so much space for Ruler, who obviously made it back, but not here right now. But we will see, as that Cannon matchup can definitely feel a little bit rougher. And I think once you get your first back and Cannon starts getting some AP, get some levels in Q, that's when it's really going to start hurting for Zeus, as we do see the health bars here in mid equalized a little bit. Zek also going for lethal tempo, so is going to really improve his DPS as we get towards the later stage of the game in these longer drawn-out fights. And also might want to look for that here, because Cream, with Electrocute, you're not going to out-trade him in the short trades. And Zeka, a lot of CS being dropped here. Scream keeps the pressure up.
I mean, but credit to Zeka. Good movement in the early levels means he hasn't lost too much HP. That first level 1 trade going against him, but managed to dodge at least 2 Qs and an E from what I counted before, taking the back half of the weirding there on the trade. Reminder that Aurora was nerfed in terms of AP scaling, not the base damages on this patch, so the early trades still are going to hurt from Cream, and Peanut still just continuing to clear through jungle. I think a race to 6 for both these junglers, most likely.
Yeah, and Kanavi obviously going to have more early pressure. I think the Skarner ganks, unless someone really overextends, aren't looking too wide. And also, the lane where I think you have the most kill pressure, which would be with the setup of the Jax, is also really hard to gank. Reliably locking down the cannon is always a bit of a nightmare. And Peanut just going to be looking to get to his, as you point out, get his ultimate as soon as possible, and then act as either the engage, because I do think that Alistar can sometimes struggle as solo engage, so having some backup there is nice. I also want to highlight that the light, obviously, you're playing any cannon, you have to go exhaust. It's basically a prerequisite. Does mean that there might be an opportunity for JackeyLove and Crisp, because as far as raw combat power goes, in a 2v2, I think the Barrier Cleanse or Barrier Ignite is going to feel a lot better than the Cleanse Exhaust.
I mean, favored certainly in the 2v2 and in the Summoner spell selection.
Yeah.
Viper will back, picks up the tier. JackeyLove, similar scaling option in the form of the Cole, just trying to get more money into his pocket. Kind of knowing that Ezreal is going to go back for... I mean, Ezreal's first back just kind of sucks, right? And that's one of the downsides of the pick. The first few levels really strong because of the power of the passive. You reset, you basically buy nothing. So.
As we have a late lane swap coming through. Rotation both sets up a possibility for Grubs. It's going to put, I think, TS pretty far behind. And Zeus is able to catch this wave as well.
And this is something you talked about in draft as well. With the Leona locked in with some of the bans that we saw in second phase, it's a great Jax angle because it's just so hard for Leona to dive this champion. So while it's not the traditional early level lane swap, the changes only affect the first 3 minutes of the game. So happy to just swap down around a Grub setup. Very, very reminiscent of kind of an optimal play from last year where you just have this 5-minute swap to topside for the first Grub spawn.
Kanavi is, or 369 rather, is still holding on to his TP, does have that available. So we'll see what the response is going to be. Obviously, want to match the top side because they want to keep the...
Okay, Cream fishing.
That ult is gone. And actually, I think the level 6 spike for TES is completely bonkers, right? I think even though there is a lot of scaling on Hanwha Light, it's going to take a lot more time before they have the same level of lethality as that gets cancelled. That's
level
big.
6. 369 has the empowered auto, waiting for the counter strike. Good timing coming in for Zeus. Now 369 is going to ult. But Zeus taking that ult is fine. They just lost both of their big team fighting ultimates. They do not have it for the Grub fight. HLE very comfortable to start that objective, knowing there's not really a good counterpunch from TES. I mean, good patience from the side of HLE to just get the ulti out on the bottom side. Mid lane King was a bit overeager, thought he could find the kill right before the back completed.
Even if you cancel the back, I think that will net you the
For what it's worth. Never mind, we'll talk about it later. Fun back from Delight after shot proc. This is going to be rough. Nice. Hit coming in there from Crisp. Delight trying to walk away. Ball breaker will not connect from Kanavi. Just going to back off. Very close to being a disaster. And in the meantime, the Grubs are still just being hit.
Damn, without those ultimate, like, I do think for 369, because he TP'd, him using that chem mill isn't that big a deal, because realistically, he was never going to be in the Grub fight because he had to catch the bot wave. But yeah, I agree. The one, not having the Aurora is a big deal. It sets up nicely for JackeyLove as well, as in they go again.
Like going Peanut here, level 6. Kanavi might try to kick this one off, but Ezreal hasn't taken any damage. An excellent interrupt from Peanut! Hard read on Kanavi, but now the fight coming through. Alistar, no level 6 means he's easy picking. JackeyLove going to try to pick up the kill, but he doesn't have any mana. Kanavi now running. JackeyLove caught in the 1v1, forced to flash out. Viper continuing forward, needs to land each and every single Q. Hits one, just not quite enough damage to finish the job.
Yeah, Barrier was still there. I think otherwise Viper might have flashed forward, fished for that. And this is what I was saying is...
The rock! Doesn't stop it. Shields. Ooh. Shakes fist.
Not even close, says Jackie. Gets his back off. And that is going to be a big gold influx there for TS. And it was Hanwha that started it. And it's kind of what I was talking about, right? Even though Peanut gets an incredible 2-man ultimate there, it doesn't mean much because there was no damage follow-up.
Yeah, I mean, again, Ezreal...
Yeah,
just now has Sheen. Just now has Sheen.
That way would have been great.
Yeah. And it's an Alistar with exhaust, no ignite. You just don't have damage. And without the Alistar ult, you didn't have the tankiness either. Good recognition of their own strengths, right? TES not a team that hesitates to pull the trigger. If they think they have an advantage on a fight, they're taking that fight.
And I think the read might have been that Kanavi had already gone for the back there. Yep. Beautiful ult from Peanut there. Actually catches Kanavi mid-Q. But there is still more than enough damage available here. And without the damage on Viper, like, just not going to be able to take anyone down. And this is also, these are the situations where you really do see the nerfs to Skarner. Like otherwise, a couple of patches ago, Peanut would have got that grab and it would have been at least a kill, possibly a double.
Yeah, you would have had the E up more reliably, you would have had 2% more max health damage, a bit more slow, probably could have finished it out. In this case, it was not enough, and again, a brief window of opportunity, very well capitalized on by the side of TES. Ezreal does not do damage, even though Viper, I feel like, landed every single ability. Just did not matter. Will be a different story with the Sheen, but still not that crucial first item spike, as JackeyLove, no surprises, just rushing for a little bit of extra lifesteal so he can eat that poke and continue that endless push that MF can just bring to the table.
Yeah, it's the classic on MF. You get the BT, get to just strut around unbothered. And any poke that does come through from Ezreal, you can easily shrug off. And we also see Zeus and 369 are still, again, there's a
level 6 for Delight, hoping to get the ulti, and they do manage to get it initially. Aftershock there, but Chris too damn tanky. Now the ulti comes in from Viper. It's a little bit wide. Peanut finding the knockback into the wall. Kanavi locked up once again. They managed to walk out of the ulti coming in from JackeyLove as well, but still good damage going down. Ulti again coming in from Kanavi, but they managed to find the kill. Viper still in touch for now, but JackeyLove does it to finish a kill. Zeka on the way up, the slide, the glide, the flash available. He can find the angle, but doesn't need to. Chris taken out as well. TES trying to rinse and repeat, but Alistair's level 6. That was not easy pickings. Feet of Warfare claimed. Viper popping off.
And perchance a false sense of security after that previous play ends up working out for TES. They opt into a very, very similar skirmish, with the difference this time, no sums on Jackie. Barrier isn't up, Flash isn't there. And initially, this does look kind of suspect, right? Delight just walks up and they're like, we can take him down, but no ult for Crisp, and there is ult for Delight. So all the damage doesn't really mean anything. And then here, JackeyLove tries to take down Delight, he just walks it off, Peanut walks forward. And while all of this is going on, Viper has just been free-firing the entire time. And at this point, JackeyLove and Chris, all they can try and do is maybe get the counter kill on Viper. Not gonna happen. And now Viper is fed. The small gold lead that was there for TES has evaporated. Now our life are gonna be feeling a lot better because so much of that gold did go. And this is what we were talking about in the LPL. JackeyLove did kind of just wreck Viper, right? And this is including the year where Viper won Worlds on EDG.
Something that has to be respected. But JackeyLove, Crisp, Kanavi, like the play on the top side just did not work out the way that they wanted to. Over-eager, burned a lot of cooldowns on the Alistar, and the second that JackeyLove's ult is just not full hitting an Ezreal, who can just shift out, the play kind of fizzles. Ultimately resulting in those 2 kills, accelerating the rate at which Viper scales into this game. JackeyLove still left wanting. Closer and closer to the Bloodthirsters. He did opt for the Cole. He has the free boots now too. But a little bit harder for him to walk up in the mid lane, right? Viper's is the point where you can just ult mid-wave whenever it's off of cooldown to just try to secure prio for the team. And HLE, with that prio, have already started the next objective for themselves. The Drake, they picked up 3 grubs earlier. Now grabbing the Drake as well. 3 kills. Yeah, they're very close to the defeats.
Gonna equalize the objectives here. 3-3, 1-1 in grubs and dragons respectively. The TES, I think there we see kind of the risk that you're doing with this composition. Your burst does need to actually hit the relevant targets, right? It needs to be, well, it needs to be on Viper.
It's a weakness of a lot of compositions, but yeah, you're right. Like, if you're going to jump on someone and kill them, it should, one, probably not be the Alistar, but at least you need to kill the Alistar. Ulti goes in there for 369.
Oh, Zeus, he might be in trouble, TES.
Starting to walk away, Mark collapse. Starting to stack up. Nice backstep on the ulti. Wants to get out of this one. Flash out the root is there. Vault Breaker in, and Kanavi grabs the kill. Tournament starting to fall as Cream holding on. We'll just recall. TES set up to knock down this tower, and even if defeats Speed of Warfare already went to the side of HLE because of the topside play. Peanut is here to clear the wave. That's big. Stops the push from coming through as Delight and Zeka starting to push on the top side.
Oh, the TP, they're looking to dive in.
Tough target to dive. Do not want to give up feats, but top lane tower already set to fall. Peanut keeping the wave away from the tower. Cream on the way down. Peanut probably going to drop here. Ulti in, the weird and good amount of damage, trying to finish him off. Ulti goes down from Cream as well, and it looks like they're going to try to walk away. Zeka going in, goes for the pushback, catches Kanavi, now trying to walk away in the meantime. Top lane tower, crucially, still standing. Neither side have claimed feats yet, but if this tower goes down, it will go to HLE.
Might be in trouble here. Does have the sums.
Exhaust. Just take your time with the slow, walk in, waiting for the poles to flash over. Clean patience on the combo. HLE grab another.
Yeah, both Zeus and Jackie going for flashes they probably should have just kept against the Jax and the Alistar. Really easy for them to get over that wall. And that was a messy sequence of events. Love the play towards the bot side of the map. Great punish there on Zeus from TES. But then with the TP to come through, even though they do actually end up killing Peanut, the fact that they get that HLE both get the kill on Jackie in mid as well as the topside turret means that it's still a relatively even trade. And when it comes to scaling, I think this is very reminiscent of the first game we had today. As much power as there is for TES, I do think once you start losing control, actually finding the flanks that you need for this composition to work become harder and harder. Because for 369 and Cream both, honestly, they're going to be so much more lethal if they can get into the backline unchecked. We'll see if they're going to be able to do so.
Also, the later we go, the more powerful Zeus gets. And if he's ever in a position where he can threaten the all-in 369 and force that Kennen ult in a 1v1, Kennen goes from feeling like this team-fighting god to, frankly, a pretty underwhelming champion. It's what we see with Cycling Kennen so many times is if you start to win that 1v1 matchup, he just doesn't get to pick the terms when he does bring out that ulti. But for now, as you said, very close. Insanely close game, 100 gold separating them. Neither side has gotten the feats. It will be the next objective to spawn. You can see top right of your screen. Minute and 15 seconds till the Herald. 2 minutes till that Infernal Drake. And right now, HLE have push in mid, have push on the top side, so could look to contest a bit more of that vision, but resets have already come through from TES. They'll be the first on the map.
And as we saw there in the graphic between Zeus and Freeze, that 2023 was a magical year for sword versus shield, you know, the two classic top lane archetypes.
Yeah.
And I know you can't hear it without, but in that case, on those teams, it was so true. And it just was a pleasure to watch. Thus far, that specific matchup not been super explosive. They've mostly been trading. 369 though, still been able to build a solid lead when it comes to the CS. And for TES, again, I'm going to be looking at how do they set up these fights. If it's an actual front-to-back, HLE can mark everyone, can use the disengage that they have to keep both Zeka and Viper safe. I think it gets hard to play out, but if they ever get caught off guard, Kanavi's setup together with Crisp is insane for all this AoE teamfight damage.
Viper trying to poke and contest division at least a little bit. Reset coming through from 369, moving back to the top side of the map. Does have flash, has TP, level 11, so second rank in ultimate. He will hit like a truck if he can find that key target. And it's so tense. Some of this is just going to come down to setup. Can TES find that angle? Crisp not afraid to just step forward. Is Zeka waiting over the wall? We'll get a bit of poke down. We'll take away the Celestial opposition.
All right, this is the fight we've been looking for. An actual skirmish here. Zeus does have his TP. I imagine he's going to look to enter the fight. Look at 369.
Last objective for either side. HLE poking. TS not too scared yet. TP in.
There's a commitment.
Now HLE can start to step forward with a bit more confidence, knowing that they're matched out. Weird and connecting on Peanut. Maybe not the ideal target. Kanavi, it might just come down to the 50-50. Will they concede this one? He goes back in, manages to get it. That's the beat to Warfare. Crisp instantly over the wall. Viper off to the side, but it's a little bit awkward because here comes Zeus. One taken down, a second to follow. Feats of Warfare secured, but it cost them 2 members of the team.
Cool. I don't think you're going to be feeling too good about that trade because that's not all. Immediately the 2 kills go over. The shutdown, by the way, that Kanavi was sitting on goes to Viper. And I think at very least they get Dragon. We'll see if they can get mid lane turret as well. HLE are going to take that any day of the week. Jackie Love and Cream are defending, so doesn't look like it's going to fall now. And that's actually a lot of chunk damage that they were able to find. Peanut is doing this alone. And I think that they should be able. Kanavi, obviously, no way to really get here quickly, but oh, that's TES. They're not going to give it to him for free.
Trying to make a fast play. Cream getting chunked, but 369 is a big threat with that ulti. 2K getting lower. 369 debating where to go. The objective already down. Doesn't want to flash over the wall. Patience from HLE. Did not panic. Fought for the objective. And now Zeka desperately trying to clear out this Herald.
We do see there. TS is making sure HLE don't get anything for free. Making them work for it because they still had so many of their teamfight ultimates available.
And that's tough, right? Because you gave 2 kills, the shutdown that you mentioned, to secure this objective. 50-50, credit to Kanavi for getting it.
And the biggest difference here for me is that Zeka from the start had marked 369 and Cream and 369 were both already taken pretty low. And it's exactly what we're talking about. As long as HLE can keep track of both the Cannon and the Aurora, they are going to be lacking in damage.
And I think the thing is, when you're the team with better poke, and right now I do think HLE are the team with better poke, and the backline tools to kind of peel, like the Skarner, like the Alistair, it's so much easier to play these fights, because you just have to wait for the enemy team to try and pull the trigger, to try and find that angle, and then you get started. And TES were on Vision the vast majority of that time. You said it, the bouncers, and as long as Delight and Peanut are doing their job, Viper and Zeka just get to run wild.
Goldlead, though, still very negligible in the TES composition. As highlighted, this is the type of comp that if you get the combo, it always works. As Viper!
Forward, 369. That was a bit of a stinker, not gonna lie. That was not the ulti that he was hoping for. I like the confidence to step forward to try to punish Viper. They do get the flash out, but trading flash for flash.
Well, yeah, particularly for Kennen versus Ezreal, right? Peanut?
Going in, knocked back to the wall. Is there Delight ready to go? Flash away from the ulti. Yet another one taken off the table is Delight. Debating if he wants to step up, and these small trades just continuing to favor HLE. They lost Viper's flash, but in the overall scheme of things, TS gave up mid lane and top lane flash. Their key flankers now lack that additional engage tool.
To make it harder to actually reach the Zeka.
Trying to get aggressive, flash back to the push. Buffer on the ulti, nice. Manages to stay safe. Uses the wall to get out. Patient from Cream, good timing as well on that ult.
Cream, it's the better of Zeka there. And Zach, it's understandable because you know that Cream doesn't have the TP, but great usage, or the flash rather, great usage of his ultimate to deny Zeka that surefire kill.
Which does even things out, right? It's 2 carry flashes for 2 carry flashes.
Big.
So I don't want to like zoom out so much that every trade is even, but in the greater context of the last minute of play, it's not too bad. Ruinous Otacon has spawned on the top side of the map. Kanavi finding Peanut. Peanut gonna try to make it through the wall. 369 committed to taking the jungler out of the picture. That'll working out a lot better.
So much damage to come through there. And particularly when you have the Leandries and you have the both the Vi passive of W as well as Black Cleaver. Peanut's not really going to be feeling too tanky. Nice catch there by TES. Kill goes over to Kanavi again.
Building a pretty massive individual gold lead.
Oh yeah.
Which is a terrifying point to let a Vi get to, is she can just one-shot carry. She can just find solo kills if she gets far enough ahead.
As we take another look here, very straightforward. Gets the smite, gets the Q, and Peanut basically doesn't get to move. By the way, as you called out early on, to no surprise, it's Merc's City on the side of Alma Live.
If you pick Leona and any other piece of hard CC, people are building Mercs. If you then have double AP solo lanes, I mean,
there's a lot of value.
They're laughing to the bank. They know this is a good investment.
As Kanavi actually having the second most gold in the game. Outside of that, Viper, unsurprising with how he has been playing. And that's a big thing, because Viper, as much credit as people give him, and he's been consistently within the ranks of not just in the LCK or back in the LPL when he played there, as a top 80 carry, not just in the respective regions, but in the world. But he definitely has had ups and downs throughout that period. I think recently he has really struggled with consistency. So him having a big performance thus far on the Ezreal is big. They highly prioritize this pick as well.
Yep. And again, weathering the storm of the MF Leona 2v2.
But thus far, the gold lead still really doesn't mean that much in the grand scheme of things, Dracos, which means his game still to be broken open by either team.
We're waiting. But I will say, similar to the first game we saw of the day, I think HLE have a much easier job. TES are the ones that have to find the engage, that have to lay the traps, that have to find the creative flanks. HLE, if they push first, if they take their time, it's a much easier game to play out, and without the threat of getting outscaled, although I do think that you'll hit a threshold where Ezreal will just get one shot. You know, you got to play the game at a much more relaxed pace. As long as you don't get overeager, as long as you don't try to force anything, it's a little bit easier for HLE.
Those decide that he doesn't want to give his life for a crab.
Tough call, sometimes it's worth. Now, Zayas off to the side, going to stun up Chris. Kanavi trying to keep things going. Eyes on Jackie Love and that ulti. Where is it going to go? Has to wait until all the CC is gone. Gets a decent chunk. Here comes Cream, but not hitting the ideal target. Zeka finally getting involved in the fight. Cream now trying to make his way out. 369 going in, but he doesn't get much done. The stun still landing from Zayas as he gets taken out. 2 down on the top side for HLE here in the river. TES finding the fight that they were looking for, but blinking health bars now as Viper and Zeka start the chase.
We'll see. Humble Life do not want to give up this dragon for free. We do see Chris trying to look for a back here, and there's no smite again, and I think Humble Life, they don't want to full commit to this. They were the ones that were very clearly looking for that, and it feels reminiscent of what we saw in the top side of the map, where the team that is looking a little bit too aggressively. Just gets punished. So nicely done there. As Zeka, he's 1v2ing.
I don't know if he should be going for this, but in goes Kanavi. CC's there, the turret laid down. Called that one to back him up, but Kanavi wants to keep it going. Just instantly ults, tries to one-shot him. Walk away the tower, one last shot, not gonna get it done. Zeus now on the way in.
There's no way.
Such an extended play.
That's payoff for the Vi, by the way. Otherwise, I don't know if Zeka dies there, and that's such a heavy investment. Gonna be, I think, a while before he finishes.
Still only 500 apart.
I know, isn't it great?
Okay, in this fight,
so we see Alma live, and I think they weren't ready for the level of commitment. The fact that 369 is there, Cream immediately goes for the TP. When they heavily committed, when Zeka wasn't even close, didn't have the opportunity to TP in either, then catch them off guard, and TES actually getting a lot of value out of the teamfight ultimates. And then here, Zeka looks to find a possible angle as 369 flashless deep in the side lane, but Kanavi is ahead of the play again. Reads Hanwha Life like a book, and means that now TES get back in. That is that up and down in the gold graph.
I mean, you love to see it. As a spectator, you love to see it. As a fan of either team, you're probably nervous about a lot of things that are happening right now. Otacon's still up. Baron 30 seconds away,
Dragons
so Otacon likely to go. 3-3 in the Grubs. This is an insanely close game. TES have a bit more opportunity to pick up standing gold because they've taken down less towers.
We could get 3 of these.
Isn't our job sick?
I know.
It's a great time to be alive. Look, all I'll say is that HLE, right after I was like, they're disciplined, they're calm. They did fight kind of without Zeka. So, but I think if they have the 5v5, they don't give TES these angles to either fight with the man advantage or land a Wombo combo Vaulties. They still have a pretty good setup.
Looking at the spikes, Shojin now done for Viper, so he's hit his free items.
Yep.
Zeka
off to the side.
We're ready!
Pushes back Kanavi, goes over, he ults because he's got no other option, but he's right under the enemy tower. Tier 1 still standing. Kanavi, not so much.
Yep, wanted to pick up just a jungle camp. Just one camp.
One raptor.
And
a little bit of chicken.
Yeah, well, he found a bird, but not the bird he was looking for.
Vision doesn't taste so good. Brother HLE starting the objective. Cream on the flank, crucially, has not been spotted yet. They'll see him now as Zeka's TPing back in. Looking for the angle off to the side, stopping the cannon from getting in. Zeus into the back line, blocking up Jackie-Look. Beaming to fall on the pill, but now Jackie-Look can fire back with an ulti of his own. Cream in the midst of the entire team. Viper still standing, Zeka still standing. The rest of TES running. In goes the cow! Down go TES! 369 running. Kill the Viper. Baron, Otacon. They're spoiled for choice. They'll get whatever they want for HLE.
And the game that was balancing on a knife's edge suddenly tilts heavily in the favor of Hanwha Life. That was a 5-0!
Yeah. And it starts all the way back here. You see Otacon starting to fall. Kanavi just wanted a Raptor. Maybe thought he had a pick. He did not.
Gets way more than he bargained for, and then Hanwha Life immediately gets the setup. Zeka marks Scream, and look at the light as well, ensuring that 369 doesn't actually get the flank. It looked like the backline was at risk. They weren't. And then by the time that Cream and 369 actually get to have any impact, Jackie's already dead. He had to flash very early on in that fight.
In this game from 369, I think this cannon is so hard to play because Azir and Ezreal just walk away. They just leap out of your range the second that you go in.
And it's Exhaust Alistair. It's a rough one.
It's a roughie.
Now Otacon has been taken. Also the type Otacon that does actually...
Flowers Otacon. Yep. Some more XP.
I thought you were talking for a second there about Captain Flowers. Like, does he really like
Flowers
it?
Otacon.
Because it's bloodthirsty?
Flowers,
like
Jungle Champ, Flowers Otacon.
Yeah, I could see it. Now, Drake's still 2-2. Next one is spawning about 45 seconds. So Hanwha Life, they're doing their homework, just clearing the jungle of vision, looking to push up these lanes. And I think that for TES, contesting this one is going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, the struggle is, while you have Leona, and she's great in the context of that 2v2, it's not the Rel or Alistair in the sense that you can get that multi-man, hard CC reliably to set up for some kind of combo. It's just difficult to play the game out. And certainly, the name of the game right now is survival. 1.5 minutes left on this Baron, 3 more waves to play with.
Yeah, we're also getting to the point in the game where the gold lead on the Vi isn't going to feel nearly as good as we're just looking at these 5v5. Zeus, possibly a target here, but he backed off in time, and we see TES hovering very heavily towards the top side of the map. I don't think they're going to be looking to contest the Dragon that's spawning, but seemingly Hanwha Life also not too interested. Wanted to make sure that they get these turrets before that Baron buff times out. Zeka, he's just always biding his time. He's waiting.
The wall wants to get two, and he'll find them. Patient Hunter finds the prey. And now TS might just be out of this one. Delight keeping the fight going, knowing doesn't want to give them a chance to clear the waves. HLE keeps pushing. Zeus is here. The counter-strike over the wall. Aurora can't even get into the ulti to escape. HLE bloodthirsty. Not looking to give this one up. Knocking down Crispus. Somehow Peanut gets the kill credit.
Flashes his penguin. And with the Baron buff, that's going to be it. Humble Life, their track record in game ones remains as strong as it always has been.
Kanavi Q flash. Just to show that he can. HLE, back and forth game. It was so damn close right up until it wasn't. HLE find the fight, they find the objectives, they find the pick, and they take game one.
2 more of those. Thank you very much. As Humble Life, after a long and drawn-out fight, just continuously, we saw the poking and prodding. The TES, they couldn't break the armor.
They absolutely could not. 1 or 2 good looks. Picks did not come through. But at the end of the day, that's only game one. We're going to be back with game 2 shortly. In the meantime, we're going to send it to a quick break.